At 5:14 in the morning, the first of 18 152mm shells was 30 seconds from a bridge on the Siverskyi Donets, a bridge a Russian battalion was still crossing. The rounds had left 6 Ukrainian guns 12 kilometers to the west. On the bridge, nothing had stopped moving. 79 meters of pontoon, 1 lane wide, the only way over the river, and a battalion had already committed to it. A battalion cannot reverse off a single lane. Everything that rolled onto the far bank was staying there. In the fog, the Russians worked the crossing like men who had already won it. The bridge theirs, the vehicles rolling, the numbers on their side. What they did not have was the sky. A bridge like this is supposed to be the last thing to die. This one died first, and it would take the whole battalion down with it. 40 minutes earlier, the plan had rested on one small machine nobody at the crossing could hear. A commercial Ukrainian DJI Mavic 3 quadcopter, 895 grams, 400 meters up, looking straight down through the gap in the smoke at the bridge, the vehicles nosing onto it, the engineers below. Then it waited. A pontoon bridge takes vehicles across one at a time, 45 to 90 seconds apart, and the guns let them come. The quad had one enemy it had to respect. Down among the vehicles were 2 Russian heavy machine gun teams built for exactly this. Cord guns, 12.7mm, throwing 600 to 700 rounds a minute out to 2,000 meters, the standard Russian answer to a drone in daylight. One crew heard it. A gunner walked a tracer up toward the sound, and the quad climbed and slid off the line out of the best of its view. For 8 to 12 seconds, its picture was too high and too oblique to correct a fall of shot. It did not matter. The aim points were already fixed. At 5:14, the 6 guns fired. 6 Ukrainian self-propelled howitzers, 152mm, standing 12 kilometers back, firing a plan the quad had handed them before it was ever forced up. 18 rounds left the tubes in under a minute. At 12 kilometers, the first shell was still 30 seconds from the ground when the last one cleared the barrel. So the impacts did not arrive as one explosion. They arrived as a rolling wall, front to back, walking across the center of the span and the near bank entrance where the fog had told the engineers they were safe. The first rounds went into the water short and long, bracketing. Then the bracket closed. Pontoon sections took fragmentation and blast at close spacing, and the thing that had been a road came apart in the current. Steel folding, floats swamping, the middle of the span dragging downstream while the 2 ends stayed anchored to their banks. The engineers on the near side had perhaps a second to understand what the sound overhead had meant. In under 2 minutes, the bridge was gone. 79 meters of it, and the entire crossing had been standing on all of it. What the bridge had held together, it now held apart. The lead vehicles were across, the rest were not, and the ones caught mid-queue did the only thing left. They tried to reverse. But a tank does not turn around on a bank road with a fighting vehicle on its bumper, and the fighting vehicle behind it had a truck on its own. The column locked against itself, breaking and bunching until the far bank held more armor than road. That was the whole design. The Russians could not save the bridge, but the guns that had killed it had just made themselves visible. A Russian counter-battery radar sat several kilometers behind the near bank, a Zoopark whose entire job was this exact moment. It watched the sky high where shells fly, caught the arc of a round in the first seconds of its flight, and ran the curve backward to the point it had been fired from. 18 152mm rounds had just drawn 18 clean arcs across it. The crew back-calculated the firing sector to inside a few dozen meters, close enough to kill a battery that stayed where it was. The radar was very good at finding where the guns had been. The guns did not stay where they had been. The plan had never assumed the first position would live. The instant the 18th round was away, the battery was already rolling. 60 to 90 seconds to clear the center of the position, then a short run to an alternate a couple of kilometers off.
Behind them, the Russian solution was already aging. The crew fed a firing point to their howitzers while, at that same moment, the guns it described were driving off it. Every second the Ukrainians moved, the coordinate the Russians were about to fire on became a coordinate the guns had already left. That coordinate went to 4 Russian howitzers, 2 S-19 Msta guns, 152 mm, ranging nearly 25 kilometers, 7 or 8 rounds a minute. Range and rate of fire were never their problem. Their crews started the drill the instant the fix came down, catching the arcs, confirming the point, swinging the barrels onto it. Start to finish, that took 2.5 to 3.5 minutes. The Ukrainian guns were already rolling, 90 seconds from clear. 3 minutes against 90 seconds. At 5:18, almost 3 minutes after the bridge fell, the Russian rounds came down. 12 to 16 shells bracketing the patch of ground the guns had fired from. The solution had been good to a few dozen meters, and it pointed 2 kilometers from where the guns now stood. Most of it hit bare ground, but one gun had lagged the move. It was still short of the tree line when the first rounds walked in, and fragments went through a road wheel and a hydraulic line. The gun stopped. Its crew got clear. 6 guns had opened the morning, 5 would finish it. The fire plan for the rest redrawn on the spot. 5 instead of 6, a 4-minute hole punched into the middle of the attack. For a moment, the river went quiet. One gun was burning behind the tree line. The bridge was gone, and the column was trapped, and the plan still had its second half to run. That 4-minute hole was exactly what the 2 munitions held back at the start had been kept for. Launched from a tree line 4 or 5 kilometers back before the first gun fired, 2 Switchblade 300 loitering munitions had been circling above the fight the whole time. Small tube-launched drones, a couple of kilograms each, a camera in the nose, about 15 minutes of flying time, a warhead built to shred exposed men and equipment rather than punch through armor. They had never been meant for the bridge. They were circling for the network that had just proved it could kill a gun, the radar, and the machine gun crews feeding off it. That network would rebuild its firing solution inside 4 minutes and shoot again, and the 2 drones were up there to stop it. The first one went in along the obvious line, up the river corridor, straight and low, the approach a defender would expect. That was its whole job, to be seen. A cord team caught it against the open sky and fired. A 50-round belt at that rate of fire empties in about 4.5 seconds, and most of it went up at once, tracer climbing to meet the drone. The Switchblade flew into the stream and came apart at altitude, dropping into the river in pieces. A clean Russian kill, and a real one. But the tracer had drawn a bright line straight back to the gun that fired it. The Ukrainians now knew where one cord team was, to the meter, and the second Switchblade was coming from somewhere else. From here, everything happened at once. At the alternate position, the 5 surviving guns had finished laying. Their final plan was ready. 45 rounds waiting for the trapped column. But firing meant drawing the radar all over again, and the radar was still alive. So the second Switchblade took the radar off the board first. It came in from the reverse side, not up the river where the first had died, but low through the trees and the drifting smoke on the far bank. Riding the bearing, the Russians were still watching the first munitions tracer along. The radar itself was no help to them here. It was built to look high for shells, not low for a drone in the tree line. Halfway in, the smoke off the burning column swallowed the target line, and the operator lost the radar in the haze. He held the drone off, circled it once through its own margin of flying time, and came back on a cleaner angle. 20, 30 seconds gone, and the Switchblade still had them to spend. Its small warhead was no threat to the radar's armored vehicle, and it was never aimed at the hull. It was aimed at what stood out of it, the antenna, the relay mast, the crew working in the open beside it. The nearer cord team saw it break out of the smoke and swung onto it. They had killed one of these already that morning. 50 rounds in the belt, 4.5 seconds of fire,
a slow drone in the open at 300 meters. By every number they had, this was another kill. The gunner opened his burst and then saw where his own tracer was going. The Switchblade had come out low, 200 to 300 meters out, and its line to the radar ran flat across the trapped column, across Russian tanks, across Russian fuel, across Russian men standing on a bank with nowhere left to go. He had 6 to 10 seconds and a clean shot, and he could not take it. Behind the drone were his own vehicles. He lifted off the trigger and cut the burst to nothing. The gun had worked perfectly. Nothing was wrong with it. The column it was there to protect had become the thing shielding the drone sent to kill its radar. The Switchblade crossed the last of the distance and went into the radar's support area. The armored vehicles survived. The antenna, the relay, and the crew did not. The radar went dark, not destroyed, but blinded, off the air, 90 seconds to 2 minutes before it could see again. That was the 90 seconds the 5 guns had been waiting for. At 5:21, the 5 guns opened into the blackout. 5 guns, 3 rounds a minute each, 3 minutes of firing, 45 rounds, laid down in 3 shifts of 15. The counter-battery radar was still down. For the length of the final mission, it had no fresh fix on the guns now taking the crossing apart. And the Msta howitzers, with nothing current to shoot at, stayed silent. Overhead, the same quad that had opened the morning was back on station, down to the last of its battery. And now it was correcting. It found the far bank exit first, the one road the vehicles that had made it across were using to get clear. And the first 15 rounds closed it. The lead tanks had stopped in the low ground instead of climbing and scattering, and now the low ground was sealed. Nothing was getting off that bank. The next 15 walked back into the near bank marshalling area, where the recovery vehicles and the tug still sat close to the broken span, trying to work a crossing that no longer existed. The tug was the one thing that might still have moved the wrecked pontoon sections and reopened a lane. A shift of rounds caught it at the water's edge and left it dead in the shallows. Then, somewhere in the packed vehicles, a fuel or ammunition carrier took fragments and went up. Black smoke, secondary blasts rippling through the machines around it, the exit road it had been parked on turning into a wall of fire. The fire did the artillery's work for it. It blocked the last way out, and it hid the next targets in smoke, and it did not stop. By 5:23, the last 15 rounds went into the densest part of the jam, the place where the earlier fire and the sealed exits had squeezed the most metal into the smallest space. By then, the rounds were almost incidental. The collar had stopped being a fighting force and become a target set. 6 tanks, 14 fighting vehicles, 7 amphibious carriers, a support craft at the water's edge, a handful more behind them, better than 30 machines in all, destroyed, disabled, or simply left burning on a bank they could not get off. The quad turned for home on a flat battery. Through the smoke, it filmed the crossing that was no longer there, and a battalion's worth of armor that had driven down to the water and stopped for good. The arithmetic of the morning was not close. 1 commercial camera drone, 2 backpack-sized loitering munitions, and 63 artillery rounds against a river-crossing package worth tens of millions of dollars. At least 10s to 1. And the Russian defense had not been asleep. The radar found the guns, the counter-battery fire damaged one of them, the machine guns killed the drone. Every one of those was a real success, and not one of them could put 79 meters of road back across the river. The cheapest thing in the sky that morning did not destroy a battalion. It made the battalion visible, and it held it still, and it waited. The bridge cut did the rest. There are other rivers and other crossings and other bridges only 1 span wide.